Yo guys, this is Jarrett, aka the Saint of Sins on Xbox Live, bringing you some more MLB thoughts for Friday, April 27th, 2012. Yesterday I lucked out, finishing the day 5 for 3. That now brings my season total to 148 and 135. Where I went wrong was picking the Indians over the Royals, the Reds over the Giants, and the Tigers over the Mariners. So far the adage is proving true. You really can't predict baseball, but damn it, I'm giving it a good old try. And yesterday proved that you don't need to know anything about baseball to get lucky, because a lot of late game heroics saved my picks from drowning. We'll begin by looking at some of the heroics that sank my ships. Starting in Detroit, where Chone Figgins would help boost the Mariners in a 4-run tie by pushing across Brendan Ryan in the top of the 7th with an RBI double. The Mariners would go on to hold on to that 1-run lead and close out the game and the series with a sweep. Meanwhile, at the Great American Ballpark in Cincinnati, one stroke of the bat by Angel Pagan in the top of the 9th would carry the Giants from a 2-run deficit on to victory. The Reds closer Sean Marshall simply couldn't get the job done, beginning his outing by walking Joaquin Arias and then surrendering a single to Ryan Theriot. He finally caught a break when he struck out Brett Pill, but unfortunately he would surrender Pagan's 3rd home run of the season, a 3-run shot that would allow the Giants to avoid the sweep. Now a look at the performances that saved my picks. We'll begin out at Citi Field, where the Mets handed Heath Bell his 3rd blown save on the season, with a 9th inning rally that began with a David Wright walk. Down a run and with only 1 out, Justin Turner would pinch hit for Ramon Ramirez and draw a bases loaded walk to push across the tying run. After a Scott Hairston fielder's choice, Kirk Nieuwenhuis would become the hero of the game, singling to deep right field to push across Josh Thole for the game-winning run. Nieuwenhuis was a call-up to replace the injured Andres Torres, and thus far looks to be a keeper, even drawing some comparisons to Aaron Rowan by Wally Backman. Bell, who only blew 5 saves all of last season, now sits on a 9.53 ERA with a 2.82 whip and 5 strikeouts. While over at Camden Yard, another tied game would get busted wide open by the long ball. In the bottom of the 8th inning, Adam Jones would lead off with a solo shot to left field. Casey Jensen would then surrender a single to Matt Widers before being pulled for Darren Oliver. Chris Davis would then launch an 0-2 pitch to right center field to launch the Orioles to a comfortable 3-run lead. Luis Ayala would be called upon to collect the save, his 1st of the season. While over in San Diego, the Padres would get some much needed run support in the 8th inning off of the Nationals bullpen. After being blanked for 7 innings, the Friars would finally catch a break, starting with an Orlando Hudson 1-out walk and followed by a Cameron Maybin bunt single. Mark Kotsay would be called upon to pinch hit for Andrew Cashner and would double to right center field to drive in Hudson and Maybin for the game-winning runs. And finally, a wild one at Tropicana as the Rays walk off in big-time fashion off a pinch hit 2-run home run from Brandon Allen. For the 26-year-old Allen, who was selected off of waivers on April 19th from the Oakland Athletics, this home run not only marked his 1st on the season, but was also his 1st hit on the season. The blown save opportunity goes to Jordan Walden, who now sits with an 8.31 ERA on the season with a 2.08 whip and 6 strikeouts. Last season, Walden blew 10 in 42 save opportunities. Baseball is truly a beautiful sport, and it's days like yesterday that make me proud to be a fan of it. So now let's take a look to see what we have in store for today and see what kind of matchups we have to deal with. We'll begin with the Traveling Angels, who will settle in Cleveland for a weekend series against the Indians. Jarrett Weaver will take to the mound for Game 1 to face off against Justin Masterson. This one's a tough one to predict because I fell in love with Masterson's April numbers and thus far have been underwhelmed with his performances as of late. While Jarrett Weaver has stepped up and done everything he can to help this team win, but simply has to endure an offense that really is stagnant right now. Bouncing back and forth on this one, I'm going to settle on the Indians for the win. Over at Citizens Bank Ballpark, the Phillies will host the visiting Cubs, sending up Roy Halladay to face off against Paul Maholm. This one's an easy choice for me. Sign me up for a Phillies victory in Game 1 of this series. After a disappointing series at home against the Mariners, Detroit will travel out to New York, sending up Justin Verlander to take on Ivan Nova. I still think the Tigers are a better team than what they've shown in the past few days, so sign me up for a Tigers victory. The Orioles will host the Athletics for the weekend, sending up Jake Arrieta to face off against Brandon McCarthy. So far, I've got to be impressed with Arrieta's performances and have to side with him in this matchup. The Mariners will travel further north, landing at the Rogers Center for the weekend series, sending up Blake Bevan to face off against the Blue Jays' Ricky Romero. As much as I like Bevan's performances as of late, I still think Romero is the better pitcher and think that he will get better run support in this outing. The Diamondbacks will begin a 4-game series in Miami against the Marlins, beginning with a matchup of Joe Saunders versus Carlos Zambrano. As much as I think Zambrano is a head case just waiting to explode, especially upon his own teammates, his numbers against the D-backs are sterling, while Saunders' numbers against the Marlins are kind of putrid. So sign me up for a Marlins victory in Game 1 of this series. A National League Central Division matchup features the Reds hosting the Astros as Wandy Rodriguez takes to the mound to face off against Mike Leake. For this one, I simply don't like Wandy's numbers against Cincinnati, so I'll be siding with the Reds, if just a little bit reluctantly. The Braves return home after their West Coast trip to host the Pittsburgh Pirates, sending up Tommy Hanson to face off against AJ Burnett. I want to believe that Burnett's going to be a better pitcher now that he's back in the National League, but I don't like his numbers against the Braves. So sign me up for a Braves victory to kick off this homestand. The Rays will travel out to Texas, sending up James Shields to face off against Scott Harrison. As solid as the Rays look right now, the better team is still Texas, and I like their chances of staying dominant in this performance. The Red Sox and White Sox will have a pitching matchup of Daniel Bard and John Danks. I like Danks' numbers against the Red Sox, but I really like the White Sox offense, proving that they're nothing like what they were last season. I expect them to tee off of Bard early and possibly even often. The Twins and Carl Pavano will host American League Central Division rivals Kansas City Royals and Everett T-Ford. I'm just going to be picking the Twinkies in this one. The Brewers will travel out to St. Louis, sending up Marco Estrada to face off against Jake Westbrook. Give me the Brewers for Game 1 of this weekend series. The Mets will begin a 6-game road trip out in Colorado as they send up Chris Schwinden to face off against Drew Pomeranz. This one I'm really not sure on, so reluctantly I'm just going to side with the Rockies here. Now for the matchup I'm most looking forward to, the Nationals travel out to Los Angeles, sending up Ross Detweiler to face off against Clayton Kershaw. This one is such a virtual coin flip for me that I didn't know which one to go with. I was tending to bet dangerously here and roll with the Nationals, but Kershaw is just a proven commodity, and you can't go against that. If anything, I will chalk this up as a victory for the Nationals if Detweiler can go 6 innings and only surrender at the most 3 runs. And finally, the Padres will travel out to San Francisco to meet their National League West division rivals as Corey Lupke takes to the mound to face off against Eric Hacker. This looks like a spot start for Hacker, and therefore I'm not confident or comfortable picking the Giants in this matchup. So I'll be siding with the Padres to take Game 1 of this weekend series. That's going to do it for this edition of MLB Thoughts. I will see you guys later. Peace.